Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I have a very special guest, returning guest. His name is Andrew. He operates the 6G podcast. So I'll put a link to his podcast. Check it out. I just listened to him yesterday when I was driving to jury duty. Listened to him on Tinfoil Hat. So I listened to that whole conversation. Excellent conversation. A lot of information I wasn't aware of. So you can go to Tinfoil Hat and check that out. But I've had him on my show. We've talked about two things. We talked about what 6G is. They asked in the podcast yesterday. They brought it up, I think, at the end. Like, what's 6G? Good question. The answer is in our earlier podcast. We did that in July. People check it out. It just basically means full like sentient monitoring, which we're kind of already in anyway, if you have a cell phone or anything. We also talked about global elite satanic pedophile rings, which is a really horrible topic, but that was
Mhm.
also in July. And then we've been trying to put this together. I've been busy and things have come up, and finally I had time on Saturday to talk about what he talked about with Sam and XG and Johnny, which is Fort Bragg. There's so much going on at Fort Bragg. Some of the stuff came to the attention this year. Two connections there. There were allegations that Ryan Ruth was connected to that. They're not substantiated in any way, shape, or form. He's still strange, but the high strangeness at Fort Bragg is very high. This place is like a cesspool, man. It's incredible. When you really start researching what's going on there, it'll really blow your mind. A lot of connections, a lot of people you may know, a lot of people I've researched have come through there, but we're going to talk more about that. So, Andrew, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited to talk about this major. It's crazy. There's so much to it. So yeah, I'm very excited to get into that. And thanks for having me back.
Yeah, great. I mean, how did you kind of get interested in Bragg? And then we can just start off like its history. It changed. It's kind of confusing. They changed it to Liberty. I guess Bragg was a Confederate general or something. So during the Biden
Yeah, and then
administration,
Trump takes office, and I think he changed it back to Fort Bragg recently. So who knows? It's still up in the air.
right? Still,
Yeah,
but it's like a big, huge part of that state that it's in, right? I mean, it's a huge. I
yeah.
think it's like 125 square miles or something
No,
crazy like that.
250,
Oh
twice as
wow,
big.
wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It is major. It started as like a small artillery training place, and then because of the huge open land, and then over time it just grew. Um, yeah, what kind of initiated it was I was listening to Kurt Metzger. He was on Joe Rogan, like I believe a couple years ago, and he mentioned Ghost in the Machine. It's a video that came out of Fort Bragg. It's actually an advertisement, recruitment advertisement. That when you watch it, it talks about how war isn't fought kinetically anymore, essentially, and it's kind of trying to recruit people for psychological operation style warfare. And so I started to look into psyops, from Fort Bragg, and I started to realize that the first psychological operations unit moved from Kansas City to Fort Bragg. I think as soon as they realized, hey, this is the future. And then since then it's just been the place where clandestine operations come all out of. There's a lot. So even more recently, the Matthew Liversberger and the New Year's Eve party, that got the guy that ran it down. Both of those guys were Fort Braggers. And then
Jabbar.
yeah, Jamar, yeah. And his house gets scrubbed, but there's just an ISIS flag and a Quran. But a reporter is able to go in there the day that, pretty much the day it happens. And it's like, yo, this is still a crime scene.
Major crime scene. Yeah,
Yeah.
14 people died, tons of injuries.
Yeah,
Kind of covered up. It's weird that it happens the same as Burger in Las Vegas too, like weird
exactly.
connections.
And then the narrative is controlled by two Fort Braggers, Sean Ryan and the other guy that gets the email from Matthew Liversberger. And
Right.
they control that narrative. After that, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, and Ryan's get like a black ops background, whatever he's done,
Yeah, definitely.
like something overseas, things like that. But here it
He's
is. I
even
brought up
talked
earlier,
about
guys.
selling
Yeah.
drugs over in South America. I mean, he said he lived down there and he did it by himself, like he wasn't a part of, doing operations, but I don't necessarily believe that part.
He glows from the other side of the universe, that guy Ryan. I mean, and the guests that he's had on his show are really something else, like
Yeah.
Bledsoe and all these other characters. You're like, wow, this
Yeah.
is incredible. Bledsoe is like New Age, New World Order, Luciferian stuff, like to the hilt. It's incredible stuff. Here's
Yeah.
the like Ghost in the Machine. Here it is, guys. I'm showing this. If you're watching this on Rumble, Rockfin, X, my three new returned YouTube channels, welcome. But we could play this. Do you want to listen to this and watch this? Is this worthwhile?
Oh yeah,
Doing some shit?
100%.
Okay,
Yep.
let's see.
Even the images themselves, I mean, is just crazy.
Okay, let's see if you can hear the audio. Can you hear that? Did you hear the audio?
I hear it great. Yeah.
Okay, great.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end. Mr. Gore.
Dan Rather spooked up to the hill too, man. Like he lied just blatantly about JFK. Like we saw him get shoot from the front, like or the back or whatever. He just totally lied.
Really?
Yeah.
Off, tear down.
JFK may have made Dan Rather's career actually. Like he earned his stripes, he earned his bones, so to speak.
This wall.
By the way, I hate to keep interrupting, but the chessboard is a full-on Illuminati symbol. By the way, people don't know.
Oh yeah.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering, do or die.
Phoenix born from the ashes.
Me. You say your last good night while
There's the propaganda there. Russia invaded Ukraine, right? China's
yeah.
the enemy, right?
yeah.
And all the world's a stage.
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
Ammunition used by Cywar.
Ammunition used by Cywar. Wow, that's interesting phraseology there. Wow.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldiers, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
Gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
Was that just a visual from the Joker?
Yes, and we come in many
Wow.
forms. Yeah, we come in many forms, whether it's movie
Wow.
propaganda, your favorite, influencer. We're there working through them. They're
Wow.
telling a lot.
Wow. Yeah, this is really amazing.
Integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
Big brother.
To say my last goodbye.
Wow. That was a propaganda paper release. Did you see that? I've never seen that video before, but
Mm-hmm.
they throw this
Yeah.
box out the window and it's all pamphleteering.
Explodes with
Wow.
papers.
Wow. Wow. That's remarkable.
These are the Cywar soldiers.
So yeah, that's kind of what got me started. I was like, wow, this is they're saying everything that I thought was going on just right there out loud in front of your face. And so that it began everything, and I decided actually to, kind of start the podcast and come out swinging with that episode. But since then, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do a nice big deep dive again with it. So I'm glad to be doing it with you and get some more information that I don't already have.
There's a lot. Like I was saying, we
Yes.
were saying in the pre-show, you could write a book. Like there's a book that's come out by Seth Harp. I think it reached like close to number one, if not number one, which is called the Fort Bragg Cartel,
Mhm.
which tells just a side piece of the whole story. The whole story of Fort Bragg is my understanding. I have not read it yet, but
Yeah, it
I know
mainly focuses on the drug trafficking that went on, and then using that double homicide as the main kind of telltale of like this was going on multiple places, with multiple instances throughout the past 5 years alone. I think that this really was born out of Iran Contra, and now it's so entrenched, this black market of drug, weapons, and sex trafficking, that yeah, it's just a part of our full economy. I mean, our military pretty much that's what they do.
right. No, it's crazy. Their motto was verbum vincet or vincet, which is the word will conquer. So
Mm,
it's not warfare with bullets or ammunition. Ammunition for the war. But it is interesting because those old things that they had there were all recorded from the 50s or 60s. Those are guys. That's how long they've been at this stuff.
mhm. When it
It's
began.
and Tulsi Gabbard, as my understanding, came out of the psychological group there, right? Isn't that right?
I believe
Or
so. Isn't she a member of the WEF as well, if I'm not mistaken, or
she
one of those major global
she was
entities?
on, yeah, she was on there. She's the head of the whole intelligence. She oversees the whole intelligence now.
Mhm.
But I know that she came from psychological operations.
I
But I
believe
mean,
that for sure.
she's the eighth director of the DNI, so that's it. I mean, incredible stuff. She was officer training program at Alabama Military Academy.
Alabama. Yeah, that's the home of the other area for the New World Order where you have Huntsville.
Huntsville, right? That's where NASA is, right? Or
Exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
that's it. Yeah.
If you go there and say anything negative about the government or NASA, the people will look at you crazy because it is very entrenched there just in the culture.
That's the way it is with these military bases. They're almost like a university or something like that, where it's its own internal culture, own police forces, its own way of life. People go on there, they get their military food cheaper, is my understanding. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, and they do a lot of drugs apparently. It's normalized very heavily, especially in Fort Bragg. Cocaine, methamphetamines, MDMA, smoking heroin. I mean, this guy Seth Harp even threw out an instance where there's guys, I believe one of the guys that died was smoking crack cocaine every day and still training, doing everything just like regular, and it was normal.
Just massive drugs. So I guess they don't test for drugs there, then, huh?
Well, if you're at Spec Ops, it's a joke according to like Delta Force officers, and a lot of these guys, Spec Ops, Delta Force, they got these guys trafficking drugs, possibly sewing them inside of dead military guys' bodies, sending them on military planes. You would imagine that there's, not the most. They're obviously being fed kind of this kind of lifestyle to keep them from, having that kind of empathy.
Yeah. So you think it's all part of the plan? It's kind of breakdown stuff.
Yeah, I
Um,
think it keeps them I mean, if you're that kind of person who's out there assassinating people, everything you do is black ops, and you're also doing a bunch of drugs, you're not gonna be outing anything from the military. Very.
right. Like it's all secretive because you're on drugs all the time. Yeah. Tulsi Gabbard was assigned to the United States Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command in June 2020. In the United States Army Civil Affairs and Psychological Operations Command, the USACAPOCA, was founded in 1985 and is headquartered at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So
Mhm.
the head of our full intel right now comes through Fort Bragg. There's just no question about it.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
It was, yeah, Fayetteville, which is known for a lot of, weird, deaths, crimes, experimentation. It kind of is entrenched with, weird, stuff ever since World War II, really.
the thing is that Fort Bragg has deaths and all kinds of stuff happening all the time. Like it's like they're people, yeah. It's in North Carolina, kind of right in the center of the state, I think. It's Fort Bragg, right? Outside
Yeah,
of,
North Carolina. Yep.
but there's deaths there. There's mysterious like sex trap. People get busted for pedophilia. Like I guess maybe that's just the common culture, but there's all kinds of weird trafficking things, and it's been an epicenter for a lot of. I think the reason that Seth Harp used the term Fort Bragg cartel is because a lot of the cartels got trained there. Right at one point, they trained the Zetas or something.
It operates well, it definitely operates with the cartels. The gun smuggling that goes on, where the gun trafficking that ends up with the cartels. I think honestly that there's a little bit of a Israel proxy that goes on because they train cartels in Mexico since the 80s, and then we kind of supply them with guns, and then also they're kind of our proxy in the Middle East to obtain weapons and destabilize the Middle East to kind of benefit us. So they kind of work as our, proxy over there to kind of keep all this whole system going, I think. What's ironic is that the Psychological Warfare Center in Fort Bragg is called the JFK Center, and I just think that's very ironic that they named it after him, and it specializes in the clandestine operations, which pretty much runs the theme all through everything with Fort Bragg. Everything's clandestine, all the way back to Vietnam with Michael Aquino.
Right. So Kino's there in 68 and 69. And really, like this, well, the one
That's
of
where
the
it started.
papers that we've got from him is this PSYOP to Mind War, right? So where he
Yes.
writes this paper with Valelli, who's all over Fox News, guys. Like that dude is really entrenched, but like
Mhm.
just constant applications of PSYOP after PSYOP after PSYOP on the people. Yeah. Really dark, heavy duty stuff.
Yeah, he pretty much writes the blueprint for how our counterinsurgents is going to operate when it comes to mind wars among, I mean, in Vietnam, I think that he may have been one of the people that had the idea or was in charge of. They did a lot of like loudspeakers where they would fly helicopters over Vietnam, play loudspeakers. One of them was, what was it called? Operation Wandering Soul, which is where they had voices that mimic the voice of the dead of the Viet Cong soldiers that they would play to freak out the soldiers into not wanting to fight.
Yeah, Phoenix and all that crazy stuff they were involved in is Kino was around at that time. I don't know when he published PSYOP to Mind War, but he was stationed there. He's at Fort Bragg or through Fort Bragg, amongst other people. I mean, it's just really incredible. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
Verbum Vincent, the word will conquer, or whatever it is. Yeah, it's just something. Let me see. Let's see what these slides I put together. Something. There were things here. This is I always kind of come back to this guy, Toxic Tiramisu. He does the research I like, but Fort Bragg Delta Force veteran used a film crew ruse to abduct children. His team was linked to CIA operative Neil Livingstone, who participated in a DC child sex blackmail ring targeting politicians, uncovering their criminal partnership. This is October 4th, 2025. Isn't that long ago? Like these are the kind of dark things that went on there. And that book
That's
is
still
from
going on. Yeah.
Alex Constantine's Psychic Dictatorship.
Yeah, that's crazy in the 90s. In the 90s was whenever they were running the COINTELPRO style PATCON in Fort Bragg. And you had Louis Beam, who was touting this idea of a leaderless resistance, where you would essentially have lone nuts, make them look isolated, where they go out and do things that are, far right, make them look like a white supremacist. In the 90s, because of Ruby Ridge and Waco, I think that's why you had Timothy McVeigh, who probably was sheep dipped. If you're not familiar with that, that's just where they run you through the whole special ops training and make you a special operations officer, but outwardly you become civilian. And then he went and infiltrated the militia groups. Even Bill Cooper met him and said that he had an off feeling about that guy. And he was at one of these big conferences and he was just kind of asking weird questions, just getting too, it seemed too radical almost in a way. Like he was trying to get people to say things equally as radical. Right. And I think that, you also had the black couple that was murdered, Fayetteville murders that also went on from the 80s to the 90s. Multiple murders, mostly racial groups were kind of targeted. It's pretty nuts. So it seems like in the 90s, they were doing a lot of right-wing targeting.
Right. So they were trying to destabilize the right, right? So
Yes.
make them look bad and do all this stuff. And
Yes.
McVeigh is really shady. I mean, he sent stuff to his sister that said strange things. He
Hmm.
had a he had some device implanted. Like that's what he. I mean, really heavy duty stuff. Like
I believe
McVeigh,
that.
and I think that McVeigh, if I remember correctly, I did read a biography on Cooper. McVeigh showed up at Cooper's compound. Like he drove.
That's what it was. Yep.
Yeah,
And it
which is
made him feel weird, like uneasy.
yeah, which is weird. For a lot of reasons. Like he was traveling around and weird because I think that Cooper was in Arizona, and I think that supposedly McVeigh was at Kingman. This is
Mhm.
after the first Gulf War, so
Yeah, Cooper was in Arizona, but I mean, yeah, this guy was in Florida or the East Coast a lot of his times where you would see him, and then all of a sudden he ends up over there saying he's a big fan. You know,
and at
just
gun
kind of.
shows, like all this right wing stuff,
Oh
like
yeah,
acting like a like an angry person about Waco or Ruby
and
Ridge.
during this time, I mean, Cooper was making. I mean, he was doing live coverage of Waco. Afterwards, he was talking about militias, and the registration of your weapons, things like that. Registration of your militia is just them building tabs on you, and that everybody's on a list now. He was really getting deep into the kind of what they were doing when they were doing it, and I think ultimately that led to his death for sure. But do you know about? You of course probably know about the white pages in the building that got Whitewater.
Yeah, Whitewater. Yeah, the
Yeah,
Whitewater
and
pages
then
are there. Was it 94? Is that right? When did it's a
yeah, and then when
20th?
he
It's
blew
easy to
up,
remember. Yeah.
yeah, and the files were inside of the building that Timothy McVeigh blew up. And then that accomplice with him, do you know about Terry Nichols that he probably visited, I think 9 times in 3 years or something like that in the 90s in the Philippines, which had a terrorist kind of, what would you call it, training camp? And he met the World Trade Center bomber while he was there. And I think this is why they never actually outwardly connected the two, because that would implicate a lot of
Right.
other shit.
Because the World Trade Center bomber, like there was literally people saying, that was another kind of setup. It was
Oh,
also a
exactly.
false flag. So
And it seems
there's
like the Philippines, they were training these guys, and then they would come back or go abroad and commit these terrorist or domestic terrorist acts.
makes perfect sense. One of the things about this story of the Iceland kidnapping is that the call boy ring was started by Roy Cohn, who is
Really?
Trump's mentor. Like
Yeah.
there's pictures of them all the time. And I did a show on the Manchurian Candidate, and the various actors based on two real figures, Livia from the Roman Empire and Roy Cohn. But it says here, Callboy Ring was started by Roy Cohn. His associate Tom Fortuyn would run backstage interference with living stones to kill the congressional hearings. A District of Columbia Vice Squad official told DeCamp that Cohn's job was to run the little boys. Say you had an admiral, a general, a congressman who did not go along with the program. Cohn's job was to set them up, then they would go along. Cohen told me that himself. Confirmation that Roy Cohn was a pimp to homosexuals in high places came with the publication of Anthony Summers' colorful biography of J. Edgar Hoover and the revelations that young male prostitutes were procured by Cohen for Bible reading, wherever glove tryst. What I don't know. I got to go read this
Wow.
book against psychic dictatorship. But
So I've heard implications that Roy Cohn, because it's funny, Trump's like, "Where's my Roy Cohn?" And apparently it's because he was running blackmailing operations on people, kind of like Epstein. But I did hear implications that he was involved in doing things like that. So this must be the source of where that came from. I
yeah, I
didn't
mean
quite
it's
get to
it's
it.
it's a long history. It goes back into the 80s and 90s.
Oh
And
yeah.
people have said that Trump was into, I mean, you're getting more stuff like how dark Trump was back in those days, like back before, the turn of
Hmm.
the century. So 25, 30 years ago.
And this
Uh,
is the time of like the Franklin scandal. You have the North Fox Island situation going on. There is in even the Michigan. Well, I guess that was Michigan. So yeah, there was a lot of that going on during that time as well.
I did a show with Austin Picard, and we did just like all those pedophile things, they were all networked. Like in our mind's eye, we see them as separate Franklin or Atlanta child murders, but there's
Hmm.
weird overlaps between all those. And
And yeah, that
what
was
was
the
going on in
theme with
Chicago?
Jesper. That was the theme with Jesper. I'm gonna have Austin on coming up, and definitely gonna get into that with him because yeah, he's got a lot of good information of connections with what I was kind of getting at. I think even more sealed than I got to. So yeah, I definitely want to see what he's got to say, because
it
yeah, it seems like
it overlaps with this.
yeah. Oh yeah, it all seems to kind of overlap when you're talking about any kind of black operations or whatever you would call like black market operations.
And there were like rolls through Fort Bragg and Naruto. I just did a show on Naruto where they were literally training assassins and stuff. And like some of this work is literally based on that. And there's like accused murders. This one, I forgot what this guy's name was, but he was just a big time. And there's Fort Bragg had my MK Ultra mind control experiments going on there too, and with some hypnosis. So like super crazy. This guy's name was Kenneth Wyatt, but I was starting to get off on the acid. Just like Fort Bragg was a recommending problem kids be sent to Green Valley School. This is from Dana Duda. How are you? There's some kind of satanic cult attached to these people, and it sounds like the Finders. Schools,
I was
drinking
going to say
club.
that, and they were bringing a lot of kids. Allegedly, they were bringing them up towards that area of the East Coast, where it seems like that. I mean, because I even looked it up. Culpeper, Virginia, isn't that far from South Carolina, where we're talking about, especially when you're talking about 250 square miles of South Carolina. And so, it's very weird, very close.
The Finders were caught in like very north Florida, so it's within driving distance. But yeah, so like Fort Bragg sending people to school to get electroshock therapy, and then the bodies die. Like there's so many bodies. Like I'm telling you, it's a whole book, like the whole history of Fort Bragg, which is why I titled this show "The Dark History of Fort Bragg," because it's freaking dark.
There was something connecting with Culpeper, Virginia. Whenever I was reading about the Finders, I'm trying to remember. Maybe
They
I'll
had
let
safe
right
houses
up
a
there.
lot in DC and outside, and like cult centers, and
Yeah.
it was a huge network. A lot of important people, believe it or not, were members of the Finders. They didn't know a lot of it, but like Norman Mailer, who's a huge writer, important writer, was a member of the Finders, and he was writing stuff on JFK, like, oh, Oswald was a lone nut, these kind of things. Like they're influencing the culture.
Oh
See,
yeah.
it's really kind of like the skeleton key for understanding how much confusion is out there, including Fort Bragg, in the common culture, because some of these people are compromised or part of a cult or a
1000%.
network. Yeah. This is Toxic Tiramisu again. It's CIA controls Latin American cartels like Sinaloa by you mentioned this, arms, immunity, and military training at Fort Bragg, using them to cultivate poppy fields and flood U.S. cities with drugs.
And what pharmaceutical company benefited? Well, I guess along with some American ones, but the most was Teva Pharmaceuticals, which is based out of Israel. And so that's tied to a lot of the production of fentanyl and everything. And they say it comes out of Mexico. I mean, Trump's trying to say it comes out of Venezuela right now so he can go to war with them, but it comes out of Mexico, but manufactured by proxy of these pharmaceutical companies that work with the military in this black market of getting, obtaining that. It's crazy. It seems like a whole network.
It's freaking crazy. A lot of people, I got 150 live listeners. Thanks for listening, everybody. Some of you are on X, some of you are on YouTube. Tons of comments. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go through them, but I can try. I'm trying to set up this thing where you can see the comments come up, but there's so many. Yeah, I'm back. Thank you. Dot says to Andrew, 6G, I love the TFH episode. Yeah, it was a good one.
Thank you.
I guess that's going to be your new nickname, Andrew. You're going to end up 6G. What's isn't bad?
It's good. That's our thing.
Kill Bell says it's a huge base though. ASOC is there. 82nd Airborne Division. Art of the personal story. Sweet. Good to see you all. Thanks, guys, for the work you do and sharing. Bragg was in KC originally, Missouri or Kansas. I'm born and raised here. Didn't know that. I don't know. I think it was
same.
always...
I'm born and raised in Missouri, and I might have said Kansas City, but I think it was Kansas or Wichita, Kansas, that area of Kansas. So yes, Kansas.
Gotcha. Bulls on Parade. Caught a live stream. Welcome everybody. Carl, how's it going? Welcome. I've done shows with Carl. Peyote Church. Check him out. He says this topic definitely needs more attention. Too much dark goings on and death. Yes, that's when you get into this, man. It's incredible. Biblical Hitman, very cryptic. Excited to tune into this. Hey, welcome. We got to do a
What
show.
up?
Trying to get that done.
Same here.
Bragging about psyops, mind war. Uncle Say, that's a good one. Do you want to be a tool of totalitarian oppression? Uncle Sam wants you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Special ops. Nephilim symbology relates to clowns as well. Yes, it does, according to some researcher.
I've been meaning to look more
Hitman.
into that. Yeah, it makes sense.
There's a guy, I wish I could remember his name, but he like tied the Nephilim to like clown archetypes.
Yeah, there's a
And
book about Nephilim are clouds or something like that where it goes all into that.
Fort Hood is shady too. Yes, it is. It is very shady. A lot of these are really shady. Like they have like this kind of, you know, patriotic veneer, but when you get into these things, man, it's bad. Pump up the base. PSYOP, military psychological operations manual, no, I have not read it yet. Sicario,
No, yeah,
what's
me
up?
either. Check that out. I mean, when you think about it, we know that during boot camp, they say they break you down to build you up. Now, during that process, there's a lot of indoctrination that goes on just inherently by just that statement. And so by doing that, of course, a lot of these forts are going to have a lot of the same culture going on because they're perpetuating this black market that our government's part of by extracting resources, which aren't always oil. It can be people, guns, or, what we're talking about, drugs and whatnot.
Yeah. Let's see, wife's dead. Sharing stories. Carl, wife's dad was a captain in the USN. Flew jets in Nam. He said something about the tapes playing propaganda. Finally got to him and he left. He was on his way to becoming an admiral before he bailed. Yeah, I bet it's pretty dark. The Phoenix Project was super dark. McVeigh seems like he was a Manchurian candidate figure. Yeah, he sure does. If you look into it, Aberration in the Heartland, I think, is the go-to book. Have you read Aberration in the Heartland, Andrew?
I have not.
I haven't either.
What's the kind of summary of that?
Well, I think it's just that he was a secret operative and
Mm.
that it was all, contrived and that the feds were PatCon and stuff was involved in it. So
Yeah, you mentioned that he told his sister about he told his sister that he was a part of a special operation that was going on,
Yeah, I
so
did.
it's possible.
Yeah. Aberration is on the archives. Okay. All right, we're caught up with the comments.
Cool.
And so, like, all these cartel stuff came out of Fort Bragg. Like, there's no question. I think they tried to make the Zetas or something as a competitive cartel, and it kind of boomeranged where they were supposed to go after another cartel, and then they became the cartel. You ever hear that story?
I have not. I haven't heard of
Okay,
the
because
vendettas.
yeah, I mean it's some
That's a new
crazy
one.
story, but it's like it has a Fort Bragg connection to it. This is Matthew Aird. I've had him on my show. CIA's complicity in the Mexican drug cartels, including military training at Fort Bragg. And how a Green Beret co-founded a major bank caught in drug money laundering. Surprise, surprise. So check out that article. I should probably bring that up, but
Yeah, I'll be checking that
I
out.
think this is one of the screenshots. Heroin, cocaine from Mexico, street value $3 billion. The money's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, just claimed to be a CIA operative under government protection. So a lot of these people are saying, "Hey, I'm working for the government." And
Well, I don't know if you know, in 2018 there was a SIGAR report that came out where they said that that they prioritize working with these drug traffickers abroad over ending the drug trade. And
Right.
there's a guy named Hamid Kazai or something, and he literally like had dinner with Obama. So like they're buddies with these guys,
right.
These are the people they rub shoulders with.
And that's the way it is on in Mexico. Like the cartels are part of the political, system. Like they really
Exactly. I mean, look
are
at Syria.
integrated. Yeah. Yeah. It's just there. Yeah, see, here it is. So the move isn't clear. CIA purportedly has controlled and embedded Los Zeta by providing military training for members of this criminal syndicate at Fort Bragg. So that's what I was talking about earlier. This whole Zeta thing. It's real.
Oh yeah.
That's Matthew Aird's article. And then this Gladio strategy of tension stuff coming out there, like there's all these names pop up through as this kind of intermediary is that base. So they could be like, you know, sending people out. CIA's reliance on the Cosa Nostra also changed by creating Gladio 2, forging new alliances with Latin American cartels, the Babas and Grey Wolves of Turkey, street gangs, and it goes on to advance the interest of the Anglo-American money cartel.
And that's the source of really everything we kind of always talk about, regardless of the subject. It is these Anglo-American money cartels that, work through various forms, whether we're talking Freemasons, Jews, whatever, it doesn't matter. People like to point at one group, and that is really at the core of it. That's who's working amongst them all, that they all have one commonality, and it's not a nation or anything. It's just this Luciferian ideology they follow and the money that they worship.
Right. It goes through the banking, the banking cartels, the bank of, out of the city of London. Of all the drugs of cartels in Mexico, Los Zetas was by far the most feared. They were not just narcos, they were real soldiers, elite ones trained in the United States. The cartel traced its origins to a joint project between the United States and Mexico to create a Mexican commando unit modeled on the Green Berets called the Grupo Aeromóvil de Fuerzas Especiales, or Airborne Special Forces Group. The original members of the GAFE, as the unit was known, and its initials in Spanish, were schooled in irregular warfare at none other than Fort Bragg, North Carolina, as well as Fort Benning, Georgia, and also retrieved instruction from Israeli trainers. So there you go.
Yep. And you know what's funny about that? Right now, there's a September 2nd, so just a month ago, Israel exposed armed, funded, and trained drug cartels. We're talking about like death cartels that need to be trained how to kill better because Israel's so good at doing it. They're like, we need to get like you. That's crazy to me.
Wow, it's just incredible. Really something else. Like, this is coming through our stuff. This is your tax dollars work. You wonder why the world's in total chaos and all this stuff. It's like, here you go.
Yep.
It goes all the way to the top. Genaro Garcia Luna, Mexico's former top law enforcement official, known as the Architect, was found guilty in federal court working with the Sinaloa. So this is the highest guy as part of this organized crime unit, and a lot of these guys are getting trained in the U.S.
Did you hear about the mayor recently in Mexico?
The one that got killed?
Yeah, after he talked to the Sheinbaum, the president of Mexico, and all of a sudden he dies after saying that he wants to crack down on the cartels.
They all do, man. If you touch some of those things.
I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, tons of people died on her political campaign, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Trump's like, we're going to go after a cartel in Mexico. She's like, no, you're not. And he's like, all right, we're going to go after Venezuela.
It's unbelievable, man. Here's solicitation, so human trafficking comes out of there. Just all kinds of crazy stuff. Fort Liberty, you're charged with trying to solicit children as young as 5 for sexual acts. This, I think, is fairly recent, 2017.
Yeah, I've got 4 articles within the past year implicating different officers, same crimes. One of them's a Green Beret member, implicated in like 30 children.
Wow.
And then they proceeded to spin the whole article talking about how Fort Bragg is rampant with drugs and everybody parties and does drugs, and he was bringing kids to a drug-fueled party. But they don't even focus on the kids or what he was doing. They just focus on everything else we kind of talked about with the culture, and they ignored his actual crime in the article, which I thought was a little odd.
Yeah, that's a little odd. Here it is. This turned out not to be true as far as I know. Ruth was not connected, but these 2 guys were. Jabbar was an American citizen. I think he was born, like his last name was like Wilson or some very common name, but he became a Muslim, and his changed new name is Shamsuddin Bahar Jabbar. And then Libelsberger I think he was a Green Beret, like he's an operator. And his death is very suspicious. Like he just shows up and supposedly shot himself in the head, and that's all they have. Like, they don't have him driving up. Jabbar drove down Bourbon Street and killed 14 people. And then, lo and behold, the Orleans Parish Assistant DA decides it's time to unalive himself.
Yeah.
He literally self-inflicted, so-called apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Probably wanted to actually do his job, and that can be a problem sometimes.
Yeah, it can. He might have asked too many questions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if, like this Charlie Kirk investigation, some people start suspiciously their lives unexpectedly or shortened.
Definitely.
Because
I mean,
like
yeah.
when you have a 3,000 person like gag order, you know, I think it's
I
a
mean,
message like you better not talk or you're gonna end up dead.
is that unprecedented? I mean, that's your field.
I can't think of it ever hearing that in any way, shape, or form in my past history. That much of a gag. Oftentimes there are gag orders in civil court or criminal, like you're not supposed to talk about the case if you're on the jury outside of court, and so there are
Right.
kind of secrecy rules and things like that that make perfect sense, but I've never seen something that blanket and that vast. Like it can't contain, it's not even the people who are coming in to testify or people who are going to sit on the jury or anything like that. It's like everybody
Everybody. Yeah.
affiliated has to shut up.
If you had a cell phone, don't show. Yep. That's crazy.
It's really crazy. Livelsberger died on the same day. It's weird too. Like they're both dead on the 1st of January, 2025. I mean,
Yeah. Both happened that day. Yeah. Yeah.
and Livelsberger's sending weird like emails out, and I guess he was involved in drone warfare. Like he's an operator. Like he's
Yeah, he implicated China with the drones. You know, they always use China as the scapegoat for a lot of operations, and you know, they had the perfect. One guy's radicalized by Islam, the other guy is blaming China for the anomalies going on, and you can wrap all that up with a nice bow. You know,
right. It's all wrapped up.
got somebody to blame.
And like there's no evidence. And Jabbar underwent some kind of weird psychological change because there's no evidence of his radicalism until fairly recently. Like I think that he was just a normal guy, married, divorced, you know, these types of things, and then all of a sudden he gets the thing to, you know, go on a terrorist assault in New Orleans.
It's almost it seems like indicative of activation later. I don't know if it's maybe radicalization through whatever kind of training they went through. Kind of comes out later.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So there's Fort Bragg cartel, drug trafficking and murder in the special forces. And there's one of the articles by Seth Harp. Violent drug ring embedded in the U.S. Army Special Forces and the Airborne Corps. And like, it's just, this is how the drugs get into the country, guys, in vast amounts. Like some of these are being distributed in strange places. People wouldn't believe it.
Well, you remember the movie American Gangster, right?
Yeah, of course.
And you know, it wasn't just Frank Lucas and his cousin that worked in the military getting that heroin over here. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was a lot more systematic, I believe, than that. And it showed that they were putting it inside of caskets. And I've heard stories, read stories about them sewing it inside of bodies of dead soldiers and, you know, emptying it out and putting it in there. That's crazy. Yeah.
That's true. Here's another one. This is Old North Patriots. The gross corruption of the U.S. military's toleration of degenerate sexual crimes by our Afghan allies has spread back to the state of North Carolina. Sergeant Chad Michael Johnson is the latest in a series of Fort Bragg soldiers charged with sexual crimes against children. Girls between 12 and 16. I think that's August 2025. That's fairly recent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the ones I had pulled up as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. Matthew Petty, bizarre criminal conspiracy in the ranks of U.S. Joint Special Operations Command at Fort Bragg. Doing drugs, selling drugs. It's always been there. You have to see it. I think it goes all the way back to the McCoy book, right? It's Politics of Heroin in Southeast Asia, right? So like there's political stuff, they're making money, and then they're finding the users back in the States and shipping all the stuff back. This is in the 60s and 70s. Seth Harp writes, on average, one soldier dies at Fort Bragg every week, a staggering fatality rate for a population of 50,000 physically fit young men. Instead of coming clean about the causes, the Army simply started redacting circumstances of death from
That's what you do.
Yeah,
Yep,
it's so corrupt. So corrupt.
It's funny, like about the drug thing. Pharmakia is what they say. In the Bible, even that is the way that they operate their sorcery. Um, which it's funny that they use pharmaceuticals, or drugs, and that's what destabilizes and is used to weaponize, people. I mean, against people constantly.
Right. I mean, the drugs are things like they figured that out. Like if you're a pretty observant doctor, you know that drugs can drive people into schizophrenia and aggression. Like they figured out in the 60s, if you give people a lot of meth, they go freaking aggro. They just get
Hmm.
aggro as hell. And that's why
Chemical
that
activation.
yeah, they get activated. That's what they did to Manson. They were on meth. The Manson family was on meth. And a lot of those biker gangs got super violent because they were just trafficking and using meth all the time. Brandon Dilly writes, U.S. intelligence agencies are actively recruiting and radicalizing jihadis from U.S. military bases, specifically Fort Bragg, to carry out attacks on U.S. soil, and have been doing so since 2009. Changed my mind. 184,000 views. This is early.
I could change your mind and say they've been doing it since maybe the 80s.
There you go.
A little longer even. Just because, when you look at Operation Cyclone with the Mujahideen getting propped up against Russia, that was where it was kind of birthed at, this kind of idea of counterinsurgents with terrorists and using them to kind of destabilize and kind of recreate countries the way you want them. And then later it was brought here with 9/11 and Patriot Act after and everything that was born after. It works very well.
Here's another guy who I think he ended up being a terrorist. So outrageous was Muhammad's behavior that his commanding officer came to believe that he was being sponsored by a U.S. intelligence agency. I assume the CIA, he told the San Francisco Chronicle. Anderson was not alone in this belief. Back in California, Muhammad's friends also assumed his CIA ties. Everybody in the community knew he was working as a liaison between the CIA and the Afghan cause. He was able to break Army regulations at will with complete impunity. While serving in the U.S. Armed Forces, Muhammad spent his weekends traveling from Fort Bragg to Brooklyn, where he lectured the Al Khifa Refugee Center and began providing military training and stolen U.S. Special Forces documents to a cell of Islamic militants based there. This is like radicalization. That's what he's doing.
Exactly. Yep. That's why I was kind of speaking to. They use that radicalization and perpetuate what they order out of chaos. That's all it is.
Yeah. That's like Gladio, right? Is just making.
Right.
This is literally from the MK Ultra documents. You can find this. It's page 412 of I think it was the Church Report, but between 1955 and 1958, research was initiated by the Army Chemical Corps to evaluate the potential for LSD as a chemical warfare incapacitating agent. In the course of this research, LSD was administered to more than 1,000 American volunteers, maybe not, who then participated in a series of tests designed to ascertain the effects of the drug on their ability to function as soldiers. With the exception of one set of tests at Fort Bragg, these and subsequent laboratory experiments to evaluate chemical warfare potential were conducted at the Army Chemical Warfare Laboratories, Edgewood, Maryland. So they were conducting them at Fort Bragg too.
So yeah, I mean, chances are they perfected what they were doing by now. I mean, we're probably living in a world where it's just in operation at a lot of, pretty often.
The infamous Jeffrey McDonald murders there. I've read through this case. I think he's guilty as heck. He did I'm blaming the Manson family type stuff, but my reading of this is that he did it. He's a jerk. Killed his kids.
So what is this? He killed his children?
Well, he was at Fort Bragg in 1970. He said a group of cult members came in and killed his wife and kids. And
yep, I do remember this one. Yeah.
But they think that the situation was staged. They killed his wife and kids, but they didn't go after him. Somehow he survived. How does this make sense? The most violent, he would be the most dangerous person. So they would, if somebody went in there, they would go after him first because they could incapacitate the women a lot easier. So It doesn't seem it's feasible that he survived. They found that he was supposedly fighting with them in the living room, but they couldn't find any hairs from his pajamas, and then there were stab wounds, I think, on his wife that were staged after she was incapacitated. That's what they found. So she supposedly was stabbed during a brawl, but then they found out that like the stab wounds happened when she wasn't moving, which means that he had to have drugged her or something and did it. Something like the forensic evidence didn't add up for his
Yeah.
story so much. Some people have said, oh, there's like this woman Stokely who gave testimony that it really did happen. I don't know. I'm not a believer. She's not reliable. She's a drugger. There's the infamous Michael
Mhm.
Aquino. I've done a show on him. Supposedly shot himself in the head, committed suicide. He had a lot of different writings. I didn't know of some of his other books. We Break the Sword, The Nazi Peace of 1940. I wasn't aware of this one.
Really? Yeah, I need to check that one out because I think about how a lot of this satanic cult stuff always ties into the Hitler being, kind of like with that Order of the Nine Angles, with Hitler being kind of this incarnation, if you will, or
Avatar,
vessel.
yeah,
Yeah, Avatar,
Avatar.
that's what it is. Yep.
I know that Aquino went to Wavelsburg. That was Himmler's kind of SS, castle, and did stuff, Black Sun stuff motif. So he was in there. I have a video of him somewhere where he has like one of the SS knives. So he had that kind of like
Mm.
Nazi regalia fetish stuff these guys have, where they love all like the Nazi outfits and crap like that. But
Yes.
so he's. I wonder if I can find that video. But yeah, so he was involved. So the occult overlap with the Nazis goes back to the Nazis. It's as simple as that. There's Timothy McVeigh. I need to do a show on aberration. I tried to get her on my show. She told me to pound sand.
Oh.
Forgot the author's name. But, Mike Flynn, right, attached there, and we're inundated by QAnon. Like, you can ask AI, is QAnon a psychological operation? Like, they say yes. AI
He'll tell
goes,
you.
yeah.
It seems like it was. I mean, he posted like the motto or something on his social, didn't he?
Yeah, and all the phraseology, we go one, trust the plan.
Where we go one, we go all. Yeah.
Yeah, all that stuff.
And it's Operation Trust 2.0, as I think Sam may have called it that. Tripoli. That's definitely what it is.
Yeah, it's not normal, and there's nobody doing secret drops. Sorry, guys, you guys are credulous. It's
And what's crazy is though, you got to sprinkle some truth if you're gonna run a good operation, though, and that's what gets a lot of people. It's not like there isn't a satanic pedophile ring going around where they're doing things with children, and all these things are real, but everything after that is bullshit. It's pretty much bullshit.
If you are kind of have been looked at the kind of like parapolitical stuff and familiar with it, you see what the Q people are doing. They're luring him in for certain things, but it's some of that stuff. It comes across as what I call conspiracy smack, where it's just kind of like this kind of mixed stew of things, and then some of it, like RFK's coming back, or JFK's coming back from the dead, or RFK Jr. Like, come on, guys! Like,
I've seen a lot. Yep.
There was a report on QAnon that JFK Jr. was going to come back and make an appearance at the Dallas. What's that place where JFK was shot at Dealey Plaza? And like literally hundreds of people showed up there. Like,
really?
Imagine if you're running the psychological operation and you put that out. RFK Jr. is going to show JFK Jr. is going to show up at Dealey Plaza and watch all those people come out. You're like, this is working, guys. We've got them.
And you put it on 4chan, and then people read it on there. They post it on real social media. It grows, and then now it's a real conspiracy now, right?
Yeah.
Even though it's just sensationalist garbage that keeps you away from the truth.
Yes. I mean, but it's also kind of like a control because it's us against them, and I think that was its utility, is really trying to get messaging that they wanted to get out. It's very deceptive, though. I mean, come on, guys, this is QAnon people, or it's too much. Like, and I think that they might have even perpetuated, like maybe Trump is making a Q, and maybe he is.
Oh yeah. I mean, Flynn and Trump are. I mean, they're close. He's been, his main advocate as far as military goes.
I think it shows that they're willing to kind of mind FUCK even their own followers to perpetuate their power, to like get them into this whole paranoid state. Like, imagine the paranoid state you are if you're a QAnon follower or part of the
Mhm.
psychological operation, possibly from Fort Bragg. If this guy's attached to Fort Bragg, maybe even Tulsi Gabbard knows QAnon is baloney. What? How is it? Would that be a stretch? If she's been
No,
through Fort Bragg, like
no,
what other
yeah.
psychological operations are there? I mean, this is just one. I think that COVID was one huge psychological operation, global psychological operation. Incredible.
And they layer them, like Charlie Kirk, the distraction for Epstein. That's the distraction for this, and really, we're looking at a technocratic state being built globally, and we're going to be, we're using nationalism via Trump with his guise of nationalism as globalism. I mean, he's helping America by importing beef and getting rid of our cattle farms. He's helping America by, giving money to the competitors with the soybean farms by buying that beef from Argentina, that's where China just started boycotting our soybeans and started buying from Argentina. So we're actually almost rewarding the country that's stealing our business from our other farms. So that's two industries of our farms that are going to be shut down, as he says it's to help us.
Yeah, he's full of
It's
baloney.
terrible.
He said he was going to stop the war in Ukraine right at the beginning of his thing, and it's still ongoing. We're almost at the 1 year mark after he's been here, and there's still a conflict. I mean, there's really the U.S. is still kind of doing the same. The agenda's ongoing.
Yes.
And we're tampering around in all kinds of countries all over the world through USAID or some other cutout.
Mm-hmm.
But
you know when I knew, when I kind of knew for sure, and it was like, I mean, I kind of thought it was a little bit hopium to think he would help in this administration, but whenever he did that Trump coin, and then did the whole dump right away, and I was like, man, okay, yep, it's definitely just all a big ass scam.
it was just a big scam. Yeah,
Mhm.
Trump is just a huge, big scam.
Yep.
I mean, this whole TPUSA overthrow that's ongoing right now is really just something else to watch. Like, watch all them fight amongst themselves. The Charlie Kirk assassination, and then the fallout where they're calling each other evil. These are like Christians too, supposedly. Like, it's incredible. I mean, I never thought I would see this stuff in my life where they're like at each other's throats. Somebody else is gonna this kind of rhetoric is somebody else is gonna get killed again. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's just a matter of time. Like, I'm gonna do a death pool and see what famous person gets greased. It's really that bad. I'm not kidding.
I
It's
think
not
you're exactly
exaggerating.
right. And the traditionalism seems to be ramping up very heavily. America's Christian, and these kind of rhetorics are getting thrown around, and people very quickly on the right are going to lose sight of what a constitution is and a Bill of Rights is and what it looks like to have a freedom of religion and speech, because they've chosen to say that Christianity rules all. And that's, what version gets to rule all? Pentecostal, Lutheran? I mean, what are you saying? There's so many versions of Christianity. You can't. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing people that I know doing this. It's
Right.
worrisome. It's getting to the point where everybody's kind of on that train lately.
Even if you're a Pentecostal, there's different versions of Pentecostalism too,
Exactly.
or Catholicism, or
Mhm.
Protestantism. I don't even know, like, whether somebody really practices it. So it's like, it's
Yeah, you can't say we're going to get back or go to Christian values solely in America, because now if you can say that a Muslim can't practice, now you're saying that you eventually could be told you can't practice. So the freedom of religion was done by Freemasons who hated the church because of their persecution throughout the years from the Catholic Church. And so they created a country where everybody could practice what it is they had to what it is they worshipped or whatever. And yeah, this radicalization on the right and left is really working. We're going to get rid of it one way or the other.
Yeah, no, it's going to be incredible. Like, people's reputations are going to just sink too. Some people are going to go up. Candace is going to go up, but some other people, like, people won't trust them at all. They will just look at them with revulsion. It's really bad.
Yes.
We're back at toxic tiramisu. The doctrine developed at Fort Bragg authorized assassination and hostage taking for U.S. forces by twisting international law to provide legal cover for these specific crimes. Its purpose was to guarantee American impunity while denying the same rights to any adversary. I call it, like, you heard of like Pax Romana or Pax Americana, but
Yeah, the
it's
golden
really,
age.
yeah, the so-called golden age, but in reality, it's really KO Americana. It's
Yes.
like a Masonic KO globally,
Mhm.
where you destabilize everybody just to destabilize them. Like,
That means
there's a threat environment everywhere.
I think you're exactly right. I've been kind of getting deep into the Atlantean aspect of things, and Trump calling it Pax Romana, like Rome was kind of the resurgence of Atlantean culture, and he just seems to be kind of calling that like it's coming to go. This Atlantean civilization's coming back, and I think it'll be digital. It'll be done differently, but it's gonna be the same Luciferian kind of worship. And he's got the plus ultra pillars inside of Mar-a-Lago. That, if you don't know, that's the inversion of the inscription that was on the Pillars of Gibraltar, Pillars of Hercules, rather, at the Straits of Gibraltar, which is where you enter to get into Atlantis. And they inverted that inscription, and that is what he has, plus ultra, on Mar-a-Lago, which indicates to me that he is a part of this Atlantean kind of this elite cult of god kings or corporate CEO kings, Curtis Yarvin's version, that will be taking over.
Yeah, you have to send that to me. Send me that picture.
I will.
I'm not
I will.
surprised. Dude, the guy knows the Tesseract. He says the golden age. This is all like
Yeah.
new age stuff. This is not Christian. There's no
Mm-mm.
golden age. It's like the return of Christ and the 1,000-year reign and all this stuff.
And that's what the new age is, yeah.
They have an aeonic view, just like Hitler, just like Crowley. But it's not a
Yes.
Christian aeon. It's not, guys.
Right. Well, the Ubermensch, which was the perfect man, they talk about how they go back to Atlantis, the Aryan race. That it shows you right there. That's the same as the Freemasons and everything else that they were. So what's the difference?
Not much, people. Toxic tiramisu again. Fort Bragg, U.S. military ran a clandestine assassins program. Psychologists recruited men with a hidden capacity for violence and systematically stripped their humanity through forced viewings of snuff films until they were just perfect cold-blooded killers. I've done a show on that in Naruto, but through Fort Bragg. And Naruto like retracted and then disappeared off the face of the earth. Like nobody knows where he is. But he thought that everything was going to be disclosed because all the stuff that was going down in the 70s, the Rockefeller Commission and the Church Committee and all this stuff. He's like, well, it's going to come out anyway. No, it didn't come out. You were the one to break it, bro. You got in deep trouble with the higher ups, too. Let me see. Let's check the comments. There's a lot of people commenting.
Hell yeah.
Churian. Last time I was in Mexico, let's see. So TJ's reading the Fort Bragg cartel, definitely worth your time to read. Okay, that's good advice. I'll try to check that out. I could do a show. I could ask him on my show. I don't know. Last time I was in Mexico, the military decided to escort me grocery shopping. I haven't a clue why I pulled into parking lot and two guys with AKs decided to go with you. Okay.
It's a fun time.
Mexico's never not been corrupt. That's true.
Living man, what up?
Yeah. I'm the living man. If you look at the tape of Jabbar running people over, he's not deliberately aiming at people. He could have run over a group of helpless people, but he does not. Yeah, I mean, it's super sus. Carl would like to talk to you. I'll send you Andrew's email. You can send it. He's on the mark regarding military smuggling. You guys can trade notes.
Anytime.
Flip Wilson says the drug trade is an international industrial. True, it's an industrial scale operation. If you think millions of tons of drugs are shipped into the U.S. and the government can't stop it, then you're out of touch reality. Correct. Dot T says, I want to say thank you to all the truth seekers and tellers. This is so important. Much love to everybody. Thanks, T. Thanks for listening. Good morning. It's Cake in a Cup. Trust to plan harder, right?
Yeah.
Cake in a Cup. TP. Toilet paper is what TP USA has devolved into. Yeah. It was a moneymaker, guys. It is freaking huge, bro. TP USA was generating $80 million in revenue a year. It's a small corporation or a good-sized corporation. Freemason founding fathers. Let's see. Mar-a-Lago shaped like an omega. Trump is the omega man. Interesting. Didn't know that.
Well, did you see the ballroom he's building looks a lot like the Solomon's Temple?
No. Wow.
Aerially, if you look down, it's very similar. Like the little diagram he held up. Somebody put it side by side. It's pretty close.
Wow, that's
the bail room.
Wow. He got visited by the same people who visited Sybil Edmonds. J.D. Vance had a unique take on the part of the Constitution about freedom of religion. Worked it so it was Christian only. I read this book. It was so informative. I'm glad to hear William talk about the Charlie Kirk. Hi, Marlene. Welcome. Kicking that cup, that stealth promo worked. Okay. You're all caught up.
What is your
Um,
take on the church committee? Do you think that was a cover up by the Rockefeller Commission, or do you think that that was? I mean, they let some stuff out, but again, you can do that and then control the narrative and make people feel sustained.
I think so. I think they can do these limited hangouts. I think they covered up a lot. There's a lot. I mean, I've
Yeah.
learned so much about these programs now that I know that they kept a lot of the cards close to their chest. And the Congress people, I think Church was a senator, but they just didn't have the capacity to get into the documentation. So I think it was an attempt to get there, and they did, and people were punished, and people were moved. They all felt. I mean, to me, a lot of those guys at the CIA knew they were guilty as hell. So like they let like when they got fired, like Angleton and stuff like that, they're like, yeah, because we killed a lot of freaking people.
Yeah, yeah.
So I do think it was an attempt, but I think time has shown there's just more and more documentation and how bad it really was, and how many like of these strange killers there were, these strange programmed to kill people, and that they were doing it. Like Narut is still like I don't think Narut is mentioned in either the House Committee on Assassinations, Rockefeller, who was in on it. Nelson Rockefeller's in on all that stuff, so that's definitely a cover up, like the
That's
Warren
why I asked.
Commission.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's why I
then
asked.
Church was an honest guy, and I think that he was. I mean, there's a book that came out, "The Last Honest Man," very recently, and I think he was very intelligent. Like he went to Stanford Law School, and he's from Idaho, so he's kind of like a flyover guy. He's not part of the Washington system, corrupt, pedophilia and blackmail and all that stuff. But they destroyed him. They made sure he did not win his next election. I think it
Yeah.
was in 1980. So he was summarily punked out or drop kicked out. That's what the honest guys always get it kicked out right away. Like that other guy in a wheelchair. Remember him? He only lasted 2 years in Congress. He said,
Yeah.
"I got invited to an orgy," and I said, "You're gonna get kicked out of Congress, bro. I can already
Yeah.
tell they're gonna primary you or undercut you." And then he was kicked out. I forgot his name, the kid in the wheelchair. Anybody know? But they did the same to Church, and then he died of cancer. I think he was dead at 56. So not, he. I think that his demise might have been expedited. He was
Yeah.
asking the right questions. I think he was definitely asking the right questions. CIA got away with murder. There's just absolutely no question about it.
Oh yeah. 100%.
To this
So,
day,
yeah, I
though,
was
they
just curious
still are.
about.
They're still. We don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to have any domestic operations based on the NSA Act. It's supposed to be an international data gathering system, and then they just turned it to their own use. I mean, it's really incredible what they pulled off. You gotta tip
Yeah.
your hat to this stuff.
And now I think that they've perfected it in a way where they're using technology to kind of merge with that, and it's turning into a new system that we won't recognize. But it's going to be that full 6G kind of agenda that I talk about, where the world sentient simulation, the digital avatar you have, will predictive policing, all that will be possible. That's why data is the new such a big deal. What country is that just made you get the copyright of your data, like your what is that? Just recently. And we need to do that because that's going to be, I mean, a big deal. If you don't, if you're not able to copyright your own person, right? Do you
It
know
should be
about?
it should be
Yeah.
inviolate, like sacrosanct. It shouldn't even be arguable. Like you're your own person. Like the personhood thing that the whittling down or acid wash of personhood by the state is just going to be devastating. Like whoa,
Oh yeah,
really crazy. It already
1000%.
it already has. Like I've had things happen. Like I've been in the game a long time. Like I'm literally on some kind of freaking ledger where they know everything about me. Like I'm 57, and it's just not a. It's very unnerving to know they know your high school records, your college records, everything you've done, all the, they've just compiled so much information about me that
Mhm.
it doesn't feel like freedom if
No.
the government and they're so corrupt too. I mean, the government's totally corrupt. We can see it right here. They're bringing the drugs in and making money. Like, why do they have all that information on me? And why, it's not like going out of some database. That's what's going to happen to everybody. So,
Hmm.
like, you have to have separate personas and different things and confuse the beast system, so to speak.
You do. Yeah. I mean, this reminds me of Bill Cooper whenever he talked about Mount Rainier and how they had computer systems that were more advanced than any they'd seen. You got to remember this is in the 90s. So this is data centers essentially probably gathering people's information, making a list about them. This was stuff that he was just starting to scratch the surface on, that they were kind of starting to do. And he started to talk about the continuity of government that gets enacted under all these national security directives, 300 written by Reagan, that give a lot of power over of pretty much every piece of infrastructure in our country if an emergency happens. And I think that that is the catalyst, you know, a civil uprising or whatever they're poking at right now. That would be the catalyst to kick that off. And then next thing you know, you have that AI automated government we're talking about, which is fully ready.
Right. It's incredible stuff. And well, this is something that came to my attention. This guy, Tom Satterley, he, I think, was Special Forces, Delta Force, but he was hypnotized by some of these guys. So they're
Wow.
using in these special forces, they're using hypnosis for certain things. This is contemporary. This is literally April 2020. I think this guy wrote a book too. I think I have it here, but like he's talking about, they're using pretty high level techniques on this. All secure, Tom Satterley. Check it out. Fight to survive on the battlefield and on the home front.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy.
Hypnosis is huge, you know, and within the ufology movement too. It seems to be that if you aren't hypnotized, then you don't seem to have an abduction story, right?
I
You
didn't
know what I
know that.
mean? It seems that's a
Know that.
big. I think MK Ultra ties in directly with the ufology movement. You know, the Robertson panel in 1953 was when they said that UFOs are not as dangerous as people's perceptions of perceived UFOs. And so that's whenever MK Ultra started, and this whole pre-programming of, you know, aliens and like, you know, abductions and all this stuff was made fringe and kind of kept people from looking at it while they're creating this tech. I believe a lot of it's our technology, whether it's reverse engineered or not, I'm not sure, but I think a lot of it is stuff we're doing in underground bases, etc.
Interesting. BG Tercero says George Bush took the church hearing so seriously that he hired a law school student who had not yet passed the bar to be his attorney at the hearings, Bill Barr. Wow. So Bill
Is
Barr
that
goes all the
true?
way.
William Barr
I don't
was
know.
he worked on that? I'd have to look into that because, you know, his relations with Epstein and everything.
Marlene asks, William, will you speak a little bit about how JD Vance fits into our current political landscape? I've done a lot of shows on Teal and JD Vance as being part of the Teal network. And those are with John Brisson. You can check those out. I've done a lot of research on that. But
Are you familiar with Curtis Yarvin?
Yeah, I need to do a show on him. I wouldn't say I'm as acquainted as I'd like to be, but I'm aware of him.
We could do one.
Yeah,
Dude,
okay.
yeah, I'd love to do one with you.
Okay, that's the next time. That's the next show.
Definitely.
The next show's set up though already. How does Elon fit in? Yeah, those are all good questions, guys. I've done a lot on the kind of technocracy, the philosophy and ideology of these guys, of our oligarchs. So you can check my records on William Ramsey Investigates. Like a lot of you guys probably don't know, but like when I got kicked off of YouTube, I didn't stop. I just put my stuff up in different places. I was on Spreaker. I had signed a contract with Spotify. So I was still working, but a lot of people who are just solo on YouTube didn't know that. So you have to go to my archives. You can just type in William Ramsey Investigates podcast, and you should be able to go to Podcast Addict, Spreaker, Spotify has it. You can, go back and check those archives because there's a lot of stuff there. I'm at about 1,600 total episodes on there. And I've written 5 books and made 5 documentaries, which you can find on Patreon. So check it out. Where's Billy? I don't know. JD. Trump admitted the CIA to work with the country is hilarious, redundant. Do you buy his backstory? I don't know. JD Vance says, no, he's changed his name like 3 times. And there's some interesting things. But he's the future. If they don't blow his head off like, they did to Kirk. He's in there. I mean, the killing of Kirk is really a killing of the right wing, like a control of the right in the United States, like the future control. And I don't think people are having it.
It's that traditionalism, man. They're weaponizing that. They're trying to push that so hard because it's justified when you look at what we've went through from the left, right? With the trans and everything else being pushed on people to a level that's just unacceptable. And then now the pendulum swings back, but then you have things like a martyr and everything else, which perpetuates it further. And then a Muslim socialist gets elected in New York. Sharia law fears from UK. All these things are pushing people on the right heavier into throw the Constitution out because I just want America to be what I want it to be. And that's a problem.
Right. I mean, that's kind of what, don't you think that's kind of what Fuentes is kind of sounding like? Like it's like
Oh,
over.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Women should be wearing hijabs. I mean, we're looking at the same. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
And
And when you
there's a
read
lot of,
about
yeah.
when you read the Two Babylons, which talks about Catholicism and Babylonian mystery schools, and how both of them really are the same thing. What's the difference between a Catholic to me and a crazy leftist like Luciferian? Really nothing. We're evangelical. We're Zionist. They're all the same.
They're all authoritarians.
Yes, exactly.
like it's funny to watch an authoritarian bitch about an authoritarian. It's
Mhm.
kind of funny. Somebody asked the senator that went down. The guy's name was Leo Ryan. You can look up Leo Ryan. He's actually kind of like a Frank Church. He was bitching about the CIA. He wanted the CIA under control, and he either went to Jonestown or was lured there, and then he was dusted off. And that's another interesting story: is whether he was brought there for that purpose, is to facilitate his demise. Andrew, what's your X handle?
My X handle is at 6G Agenda.
At 6G Agenda.
Yep.
People can reach out to you on X, I guess.
Yeah, 6G Agenda on everything. No space, obviously, on the social handles, but pretty easy to find.
Rip Bill Cooper. Bill Cooper still resonates to this day. There's a whole new generation. Like Andrews, I think, is part of that.
We're revamping the Mystery Babylon series. I mean, Bill Cooper, I think, was so ahead of his time. Everything he talked about is coming to fruition now, and I've studied a lot of him. And Manly P. Hall, who he talked about, who is the guy who is running the other side, right? So Bill Cooper is telling you about what they're doing, and then he's reading it from the horse's mouth, who is the people that's teaching everybody on the side that's running everything. So it's perfect. If you read those all together, you get this idea of what's happening.
The secret teaching of all ages.
Yes.
I never thought my country would turn to this, but I think it's worldwide. Some aspects, I think that's for sure. They've been doing this forever with the SSN, no question. We have free will, it's ultimate choice. Yeah, but we can make the choice to kind of come out of this kind of pervasive 6G system. Like we're going from 5G to 6G. That's what Andrew's talking about, guys. Check out his podcast, 6G podcast.
Definitely.
Trying to get through these comments. I believe there's probably use UFO aliens. I think the whole alien narrative, there's not a lot of evidence, guys. There's no physical evidence. That should be kind of telling at this point, 75 years later.
These guys worship the fallen and they rebrand them into different things everywhere. And the new one is aliens.
That's right. It's finished. Yeah, John Brisson, love. Yep. Check out his stuff, Brisson. Cheers to Andrew. I'm enjoying the convo.
Hey, thank you.
William, was hard to follow you around. Yeah, it's true. I bounced around a lot of different places, but it's all there. I actually still have all my stuff. I post a lot of my stuff on Patreon, guys. You can listen to it ad-free. Went on IG last night. Caker, I'll figure a kick out of that. That's J5. I have the 2 killer documentaries. They're so good and not quite long enough. I don't know which documentaries you're talking about. Silencing the Debater is the perfect metaphor for centering speech. Yeah, the killing of. I mean, that's why
I. In the neck.
Yeah, I think that's all symbolic. Like I think Kirk. I wasn't a follower of Kirk. He's like a generation after me, but he was willing to talk to people, at least have dialogue, or at least try to talk. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that ends. If that ends, it just devolves. Like the whole society's in real trouble, guys. Be careful. Like people celebrated his death. I didn't get it. I don't know why. I don't know what about him was so toxic. Like,
yeah, that's being normalized very heavily right now.
Yeah, it sure is.
Dehumanization, which is the core of the Nazi regime. I mean, that's what you do to people.
There's like there's something like the 7 levels of a genocide, and they all go through steps, and like dehumanizing the opponent is like one of the steps. Like before the genocide in was it Ghana or Uganda or wherever that was, it was like these people are not human, they're evil. They're talking about that's what the rhetoric is right now. Like on leaders, they're calling people evil. Like
yes, exactly.
Anyway, so biblical, Calm Martin, Operation Annihilation sent me a link. There was nothing on Miranda. I don't know what that is. Focus on the Bell Labs deep dive, Andrew. Somebody wants you to do that.
Hey, Cake, I will. I'm working on it.
Oh, the Smiley Face Killer. Yeah, those are my 2 documentaries you can find on Patreon. William's on YouTube, Spotify. Yeah, I'm on YouTube now. I don't know how long that'll last. So I don't know. And they still kind of like nanny stating me, like, you said something wrong here. We cannot. This is dangerous. This is harmful content. Found both of you through Sweet Sammy T. I don't know who that is. So thanks,
It's
Sammy
same
T.
trip.
Oh, Sammy T. Okay, there you go. Duh. I should know that. Yeah, thanks, Sam. Sam's very generous to me and
Great
really
guy.
appreciate being on his show. So proper credit to Sam. Tripoli at Tinfoil Hat. Didn't know who he was. I didn't know who he was until how long he was shot, only because of debate. His amazing debating style. Very tragic, serious people because peeps don't know what free speech is. Yeah. When you lose free speech, man, you lose your whole country. That's what happens in all these tyrannies, whether it's Nazi Germany, Stalin's, Bolshevik stuff. How can I sub his channels? Well, Andrew, where can people find you? I think I'm pretty much done. I'm at the 90-minute mark almost.
Yeah, 6G Agenda, wherever you can find me. I mean, you can find me anywhere at 6G Agenda. Spotify, YouTube, Apple, and yeah, definitely follow, like, share, all that good stuff. And we got pretty big archive right now. I mean, we're up to like 60 episodes. We've been going for about 6 months now, so we've been just hitting it hard, and we don't stop. So
And
definitely
that's your
check it out.
move a little bit to the right, and people can see your thing there. 6G Agenda, guys. Check it out. There's the
6G Agenda.
podcast right there. That's the art for it. The logo, I should say. It's a better word. But go check it out. I'll put a link to his podcast. And then also I'll put a link to people who want to reach out to him at Twitter. Or go follow him on Twitter. He's doing great work.
Yeah, it's getting
And-
easier to find us now. We've been I think it's a little bit easier to find us now. At least it is for me on my phone. But that doesn't, I don't know if that's indicative of everybody, but yeah, it's been, I think, a little better. We got a website made, so I think it's a little easier.
Cool. We had 225 live listeners on all these different platforms. So thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate it. Please share the shows. I have no ad budget, so anything you could do to share on your social media is much appreciated. And again, the guest is Andrew from the 6G podcast, and we covered the dark history of Fort Bragg, which, I feel like we just scanned the surface. We didn't even get into that whole story about the 2 guys who were wasted.
Yep. Well, that's ongoing right now. 2026, we're going to be looking at the court case, so we could probably revisit that later as they get going. Federal witness was just murdered recently. A federal witness got killed, so they're going to be postponing that a little bit longer. So we got time to keep looking into that and go.
And it's the deaths of William Levine and Timothy Dumas.
Yes,
Delta Force stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Will Levine actually killed his best friend and didn't get in trouble at all for it. He's a Delta Force officer, and they just tend not to bring court cases because they don't like to get messy with all the attention. So
they don't like the attention. So a lot of cover up, it's
a lot
the culture of cover ups and stuff like
Yes.
that at Fort Bragg. Andrew, thanks so much for your time. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll see you
Peace.
later.